Hello, Grace Holistic family. My name is Brian King, and welcome again to the Bolstering Immunity Facebook Live series hosted by the Grace Holistic School. My name is Brian King. I will be speaking to you for the next 15 minutes or so, and I hope you've been keeping up with this series. I had the privilege of watching the previous videos, and they've been absolutely stellar. And there are more to come. So enjoy today's conversation, and please stay on for the rest of the series as well. Today, my contribution is bolstering your immunity by managing your attention. Basically, what you pay attention to. Why does that matter? Because what you pay attention to determines how you feel about the world. In particular, do you feel the world is dangerous, or do you feel it's safe? Or is it somewhere in the middle? When you look at the kind of world that we're living in now, especially if you're paying attention to the news, well, let's be honest, we're being told to be afraid of just about everything. We have this thing going on called COVID-19, and we're told that it's in the air, it's on the surfaces, it could be just about anywhere, and we need to stay home so that we don't die. Now, there's a lot of mixed information about how contagious it is, who's most at risk. I happen to be in the high risk group because I have a lot of health issues. In fact, just today I had a pint of blood removed, which I have done every single month, because one of my health challenges is a blood disorder called polycythemia. What that basically means is my blood gets too thick, and if I let it go untreated, it can become so thick that I begin to have blood clots and I'm at high risk for a stroke, which I don't want. So they treat it by removing a pint of blood every month so that it thins out and that risk is reduced. And COVID-19 causes blood clots. So that's one of the reasons I'm at high risk. So I tend to be a little bit more afraid of going out and going in public places and so on. So I tend to have more anxiety around things like that. And that makes it hard to sleep. It can make it hard to concentrate. It can make me more nervous to be around people, which makes it difficult for me to be more productive. So how do I handle anxiety like that? How can you handle anxiety when you've got to focus on school, you've got to focus on work, you've got to focus on tending to the day-to-day things that are important to you, your relationships, your kids, your spouse? How do you find that balance? You find balance with where you put your attention. So let's start with figuring out where is your balance now. Well, we tend to live in a very all or nothing kind of world, right? You can determine how all or nothing your approach tends to be just by listening to the words you use. If you're on social media a lot like I am, you can see people talking about things in a very all or nothing way. I always do this, I never do that. I hate when this happens, I love things like this. Things like this always happen to me. Why do things like this never happen? When a more balanced way of looking at things includes words like often, sometimes, occasionally. So when you catch yourself using words like all or nothing, always, never, substitute in those words of occasion. Most of the time, many people, sometimes, often. Those are much more realistic. That's more likely the way things are happening. And just by changing that language, the temperature starts to come down because you don't feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders anymore. When you believe that the entire world or all of it is coming at you, that increases your feelings of overwhelm because you believe that you have this big behemoth of responsibility and pressure that is on your shoulders, when the reality is there's only a small amount that's on you, and it's far more manageable, but you need to see it in a less exaggerated quantity. See it as some, as many, not as, oh, look at all of this stuff that's coming down at me. Why is there so much? Why does everything always happen to me? That's double all or nothing. Why does this always, everything happen to me? I'm sure you caught yourself saying that sometimes. And it's important to catch yourself because when you catch it, when you're aware of it, you can correct it. Okay? So that's just the foundation we're working from. And if you think in that way and your anxiety increases, your body does not know the difference between an imagined experience and a real one. So, as far as your nervous system knows, your imagined threat, like, oh my goodness, COVID's going to come and get me any day now, or anything else you may be afraid of. You can be afraid of a test at school that you haven't studied well for, or it's a subject you're not particularly skilled in. That anxiety of, oh my goodness, I'm going to fail, my parents are going to be upset with me, I'm going to flunk this course, I'm going to flunk out of school, or however you catastrophize it, your body may become really, really anxious, release some corticosteroids that put you in fight or flight. That depresses your immune system and puts you at higher risk. Because when you're in fight or flight and trying to protect yourself, your immune system isn't really a priority. Getting blood to your muscles so you can get the heck out of there is a priority. So that's why your immune system is depressed. And considering the fact you really don't need to do fight or flight when it comes to job pressure or school pressure, your body hangs on to that stress because you're not running it off. You're not fleeing the saber-toothed tiger. So what other things do you have at your disposal to suppress the anxiety? You do things like stress eat, carbs, bags of chips, cake, cookies, chips, all that junk you're not supposed to eat that increases your waistline and robs you of vitamins, prevents you from being healthy, and yes, also suppresses your immune system. Drinking alcohol to take the edge off, smoking. It affects your sleep because your brain is racing with all of your worries. All of those things sabotage your immune system. Why? Lack of balance in your attention. Because so much of your attention is focused on what isn't working. All the things you're worried about versus the things that are working. And we're going to talk a little bit on how to shift the balance so that you can pay equal attention to the things that need you to focus on remedying things that aren't working, but also giving adequate attention to the things that are working so you realize there's plenty of stuff in your life to be happy about, to feel fulfilled by, to not be upset about, but to feel safe and comforted in. Let's talk about some things that you can do in the context of an ordinary life where you don't have to run away from saber-toothed tigers. Don't mind the puppies. Probably saw one of the cats. Things that you can do to blow off some of this anxiety. Because I don't know where you live, but some of us are kind of restricted in what we can do because stuff is closed. All the restaurants, some of the exercise clubs, a lot of the YMCAs if you like to go there. The weather's getting colder. Some of us can't really go outside as much, so what can you do? Well, one of the big ways to decompress a lot of the physical tension and the physical stuff that goes along with anxiety, tense muscles and such, exercise. Using your body, using your muscles. Well, what can you do at home? You can go on YouTube and look at simple stay-at-home exercises. Sit-ups, push-ups. You can do push-ups on the wall or on the floor. You can use your furniture in creative ways. You can use your chair or your couch to do different exercises for your arms, your legs, and so on. Walking up and down stairs. If you like the weather, you can walk around the block. There are all kinds of ways that you can use your body to decompress anxiety. It's a good habit for getting rid of that extra tension. It's also healthy for increasing oxygen, strength, muscle tone. There's so many benefits to just moving. You can journal. All of those worrying ideas can cause more difficulty if they stay trapped in your head, because that's where they cause you all the issues. Once they stay inside and they are mixing around, they seem much more like they belong to you, like they're a part of you, like being attached. But once you get them out of you, it's a technique called externalizing. It's out here now in a way that you can look at it, whether you speak it or you write it down. Now you can look at it at a distance and have a little bit more perspective. You can see the language that you use more clearly. We talked about that a minute ago. And you can also reflect upon it and see how your thoughts change over time. Because let's say you feel better later, then you can look back at your journal and see how your thoughts have changed. That shows you that, hey, I was able to move on from this. I didn't stay there. Because sometimes when you're stuck in a certain emotion, it can feel like you're never going to get out of it. And then once you're past it, you're so grateful to be past it, you sometimes don't notice that, hey, I'm actually better now. I didn't get stuck the way I thought I did. It didn't last. It was temporary. Balance. Sometimes things are upsetting, but then they eventually get better. When I don't hang on to it, don't ruminate, but let things pass. And the journaling helped me realize that. Because the journaling helped me get it outside myself so I was less attached to it. It's in letting it go, getting it outside yourself is the process, is the first step in loosening your grip so you can move past it. Another way of letting go of it is having a good cry. And yes, you're hearing this from a guy. I've had some really good cries during this whole COVID thing. And man, has it been cleansing. To feel the tension leaving my body that's been locked up in my muscles all that time. Because with some of my disabilities, I have very bad joints and it's hard for me to move. So exercise is difficult. So when I have a lot of emotional upheaval, it stays in my muscles. I can do some exercise, but sometimes a nice hard cry is the only way to get it out. And it makes a big difference for me. I also do some journaling. I process a lot verbally, talking to people to just get these thoughts and this anxiety out of my head so that I can process it. And learning to depersonalize things, realizing that it's not all about me. One metaphor that I use that's particularly helpful for all the people that I work with is seeing life as though you were sitting on the edge of a river, as a witness to everything. And life itself is the river. It's this moving water that's always in motion. It's change, it's time, it's always moving. And the leaves floating on top of the river, those are the events of life. Your thoughts, your emotions, the different actions, they're just moving. Now, you can jump head first into the river of life. Get it all over yourself. Get immersed in it. Feel like it's happening to you. The waves are splashing you in the face. The water's getting in your nose. You can sometimes feel like you're drowning. You're grabbing at those leaves, those thoughts, those emotions. You're hanging onto them for dear life. You're thinking they're believing that they belong to you. You're swimming. You're trying to tread water. You're out of breath. You're stressed out. Or you can sit on the shore. You can be a witness to all of this life moving by. And you can, on occasion, stick a toe in, stick a finger in, touch a leaf, make it move a little bit, because that's all that's needed. You don't always have to go all in and jump in and overdo it and overstep your bounds. It can just be a little bit or a lot of it. Balance. Another thing I recommend is injecting as much gratitude into your day as possible. Because if somebody asks you, how is your day? Oh, pretty good, I guess. Or same stuff, different day. Maybe you use a little bit stronger language than that. But to say the same stuff, different day, is to only look at the stuff that is monotonous to you, as opposed to recognizing the fact that all the stuff happening may have happened similarly on other days, but it hasn't happened yet today. So in that regard, it's new. It's fresh. You don't know for a fact that it's going to happen today again. It could. And when it does, it's neat because it means it's consistent. It's something you can count on. But if something in fact does happen differently, that's fun too, because now it's a discovery. It's something that's broken the monotony. And maybe you learn something new, but it's nothing that's necessarily going to derail your life. You can be grateful for the fact that people around you are consistently nice, consistently helpful, that you're still here, that you have food on the table, a roof over your head, things that you might ordinarily take for granted that are still there for you, you can be grateful for. Every little win, and I don't care how small it is, every action you took that was effective, every time you spoke good to yourself, every time somebody complimented you, every time you laughed or felt good, you can be grateful for those because those add up. Spending as much time counting your blessings or more than counting the things that maybe feel like they work against you or cause anxiety reminds you that life has joy and pain. It has balance. Ideally, more joy than pain. It's all about what you pay attention to. If you're keeping score, keep score in a more balanced way. And you can be biased towards the positive because at the end of the day, life isn't perfect. Neither are you. Neither am I. Life is about growth. As human beings, that's what we signed up for, whether we like it or not. We're going to be challenged. We're going to have pressure put upon us. That's what gives us leverage to move because we can't be so comfortable that we remain stuck. There has to be enough pressure put on us to get us to act. Otherwise, we wouldn't take chances. We wouldn't take risks that require us to grow. So there's got to be some pain, some discomfort in order to get us to take some chances on ourselves. So in order to be able to answer that call to growth, we need to be able to really take the edge off of that anxiety so that we can see the good in our lives that are potentially on the other side of all of these risks and changes. To know that there are a lot of rewards in this abundant universe that we're a part of. Yeah, there are some risks, but they're temporary. They're going to go away, and there's a lot to be had, a lot that can make life wonderful, even in a time of COVID. I could talk about this for probably a couple hours, but I wanted to give you a taste of this so it can maybe generate some ideas and give you something to start with. I teach a lot of these ideas and concepts to the people I work with. And the people I work with primarily are families that are dealing with ADHD and autism spectrum challenges. I tend to work primarily with moms. They are just the ones who tend to seek me out. And one thing that's particularly neat about what I do is I help the moms work through their own challenges, whether it's feelings of guilt, confidence. Often moms have ADHD or some autistic traits just like their kiddos, and they need help working through those challenges as much as their kids do. So I will help them work through their challenges as I'm teaching them how to help their children work through their challenges. So it's very win-win because everybody gets the help they need to be successful. And if that's something you want to ask more about, you can just go to my website, which is briancanhelp.com, and ask me all the questions you need to. And tune in next week because next week's speaker is going to be Beth Penzone or Penzoni, and I have no doubt that she is going to give you an awesome presentation as well on how to bolster your immune system. So just remember, one more reminder of what I was talking about, bolstering your immunity by managing where your attention is so that you can lower your anxiety and bolster your immunity for by being more balanced by attending to abundance and less negativity. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed this. Feel free to ask questions below. I will come back and answer all of them. And have a wonderful week, an amazing life, and live with balance.